What's up, everybody? I'm David Hain. Welcome to episode 103 of the A to D from Addict to Disciple podcast. If you would like one-on-one counseling or to launch or join a group using the podcasts or the From Ashes to Destiny curriculum, please send me a message by email at davidfromatod@gmail.com or go to my website, www.fromatod.org, and click on the contact page. When we come back, we'll get into this episode entitled Respect in Recovery. Welcome back to episode 103 of the A to D from Addict to Disciple podcast entitled Respect in Recovery. As I talk with people in my work in addiction, I always tend to get questions from the people they're living with, whether they're at home with family, in a rehab or homeless shelter, or in a new situation with new friends. They always ask about how to set boundaries and what to expect. My answer is always the same. It's just focus on sharing your expectations based on love and respect. I guess I first started thinking about this concept and how it could apply to addiction and recovery when I read the book Love and Respect, written in 2004 by Dr. Emerson Eggerichs. The book is built upon the theory that the primary emotional needs for men and women are that men need respect and women need love. Like they need the air to breathe. Eggerichs' position is that careless remarks and minor misunderstandings can leave a wife feeling unloved or a husband feeling that his wife doesn't respect him. If this becomes a pattern in a marriage, then it leads to what Eggerichs calls the crazy cycle. I love that term. The crazy cycle specifically states that without love, a wife reacts without respect. And without respect, a husband reacts without love. You got that? So for today's episode, I'm going to be looking at respect and love in hopes of defining what respect is and what it isn't, so that you don't need to live in this crazy cycle, either as the one in recovery or the ones sharing life with them. The title of this episode is Respect in Recovery. So most of our time we will be talking about respect. But I'll start with the love part and start by focusing on those who are loved ones or friends or caregivers or staff at a rehab or shelter. And I want to say the friends group includes those of you who are also in recovery and possibly living with others in a shelter or going through treatment together, or you're just in the same AA or NA meeting regularly. And as I think about these groups of people, I can see different types of definitions of what love would be. So the first would be the love of a family, a spouse, a parent, or child. And in family, there are deeper bonds and typically a longer time of going through life together. And the sense that these bonds were broken by the addict in the family. So the first group is family love. The second type of love I'll call passionate love. This would be two people who are married or otherwise closely associated romantically or sexually. The one who is not an addict in this relationship often talks about betrayal, broken trust, and the difficulty in ever trusting again. The third type of love is compassionate love. This involves attitudes toward and service for others, that you're motivated by a desire for the good of the other person. And I think, in this brief look at love, I want to say that, compassionate love is typically used to describe a caregiver, a counselor, a coach, or a staff member at a treatment facility. However, the level of valuing and respecting of addicts that I see in those with compassionate love often makes me see a type of unconditional love and unconditional respect that we all could learn from. The advantage of this type of compassion is that even if someone makes a very bad choice and they disappoint you and themselves, and they break the rules or expectations of your facility or your house, you can end up having even more compassion for them, as very often they're just riddled with shame, guilt, and depression. Hopefully you'll see where you fit in the love piece as we turn to respect and really turn our focus on respect for the rest of the podcast. I like the words of Russian author Leo Tolstoy from the book Anna Karenina, which are an awesome transition for this episode to go from love to respect. He wrote, and I quote, "Respect was invented to cover the empty place where love should be." Wow, I love that quote. Think about how that can be a solid basis for relationship when you are struggling to love the other person because of their actions. When you can find out what the other person means by respect, then we begin to know what is expected of us in our living situations. So I think Aretha Franklin put this thought in her song Respect. Listen to some of the lyrics. RESPECT, find out what it means to me. RESPECT, take care. TCB, I ain't gonna do you wrong while you're gone. Ain't gonna do you wrong, 'cause I don't wanna. All I'm asking is for a little respect when you come home. Just a little bit. When you come home. Just a little bit. Can you hear in these lyrics that Aretha Franklin says, find out what it means to me? It's so important to find this out because people caught in addiction are living self-focused lives and need to learn how to focus on and value others. In recovery, we often unknowingly disrespect others because we're so focused on our recovery. So let's look at a list at what respect looks like in a healthy relationship or living situation. If you want a longer list, I'd recommend going to www.loveisrespect.org, as I've pulled a few of these items from there. So here we go. Number 1, talking honestly with each other. So I want to ask you, when you talk with someone, are you giving them only half the story? Are you rationalizing that when you give half the story, it's not lying? Can you see how your dishonesty has broken trust? Do you understand how telling lies to someone is disrespectful? Okay, our second item on the list of learning how to respect and showing respect is talking openly with each other. So I want to ask you, whenever trouble arises, do you shut down and go quiet? When someone shares their feelings or needs with you, what is your response? Are you focused on yourself or the other person? Do you show them that you value their opinion, or do you try to show them why they are wrong? Do you often tell them how you believe they should be feeling? Do you give the other person the silent treatment or walk away from the conversation so you can control it? Do you use stonewalling, where you refuse to even answer or simply say one-word answers? Do you use gaslighting for manipulation? These would all be ways to say that you're not talking openly and you're not showing respect. Okay, number 3, speaking kindly to and about each other. Do you use your words as weapons? Do you yell and scream to get the upper hand? Do you make threats? Do you talk bad about a person with other people? Do you make jokes about them? Do you use your sarcasm to make yourself look better than those other people? Can you see the damage that your verbal attacks have caused? If you're saying yes to any of those, you need to focus on this third step of speaking kindly. Number 4, listening to the other person. Do you always interrupt them to make your point and negate theirs? Are you constantly cutting them off mid-sentence? Do you often try to give them answers or solutions when they're not even asking you to fix anything? They just want to be heard. They just want you to listen. Do you look at them when they talk, or are you looking all around at other stuff or your phone? Number 5, giving each other space to be an individual. Do you support their outside interests or force your interests on them? Do you encourage them in areas of growth that they choose on their own, or do you try to define growth by your standards and expectations? Do you know when it makes sense to make decisions on your own versus when you should include someone in the decision-making process because they will be affected by the action you take? Number 6, honoring each other's boundaries no matter what. Do you repeatedly ignore or cross over boundaries of another person because of your own interests? Do you find yourself trampling all over them because you honestly don't respect that person? Do you borrow money and never repay it? Do you ask for money because you feel you deserve it with no intention of repaying it? Do you respect others' possessions? Their stuff, their privacy, their basic expectations for personal hygiene from you, their idea of household cleanliness and lifestyle habits if you're going to live with them? Sure, I gave you a lot of questions there in those 6 areas. You might want to re-listen to them at another time to see the areas that you need to improve on to show that you respect others. Dr. Carla Marie Manley, a clinical psychologist, once wrote, "When a sense of solid respect is present, partners tend to feel more appreciated, seen, and safe in the relationship. When respect is not present, partners will tend to feel wary, angry, and deeply resentful." Can you see how walking in this 6 ways of showing respect that I just outlined would create a relationship, a friendship, a family, a group of people living together in recovery where everyone feels safe, heard, seen, understood, and appreciated? And can you see where it's lacking, how it takes away people feeling safe and makes them angry and wary and resentful? Well, I believe it's almost impossible to show respect for others and really mean it, really respect them, and to be able to even ask them what they need to be respected. It's almost impossible when you don't respect yourself. And many people in recovery struggle with low self-esteem. Whether you were the addict or the victim of an addict, I urge you to talk to your coach, counselor, or close friends, specifically in the area of rebuilding self-esteem. The place to start is to be honest with yourself. Russian novelist Fyodor Dostoevsky in The Brothers Karamazov wrote, quote, "Above all, don't lie to yourself. The man who lies to himself and listens to his own lie comes to a point that he cannot distinguish the truth within him or around him, and so loses all respect for himself and others, and having no respect, he ceases to love. Sure. That's huge. We need to be honest with ourselves, or we become a person devoid of respect, and the ability to love others dies within us. That is deep. In recovery, we need to be focused on our recovery. We can't be approaching a recovery in a half-hearted or lackadaisical manner and expect transformation. Roy T. Bennett, in his book, The Light in the Heart, wrote, quote, "Make improvements, not excuses. Seek respect, not attention." This means seeking to respect yourself will result in self-improvement. And I would add to this, seek to learn how to respect others, not how to earn their approval or affirmation. I'd like to close with a thought from Irish novelist Lawrence Sterne, who wrote, "Respect for ourselves guides our morals. Respect for others guides our manners." Can you see how self-respect is so key to your healing and wholeness? Can you see how vital self-respect is to maintaining any healthy relationship? Can you see how lack of self-respect could be the very reason why you have repeatedly relapsed? Thanks for listening to this episode of the A to D from Addict to Disciple podcast. If this episode touched you, please like, subscribe, follow, and share the link with your friends. Or click on the support link in this episode's description. Your donation of any amount could change a life. If you have comments or reaction to today's episode on respect, please message me on the link in this podcast or by email at davidfromatod@gmail.com, or go to my website, www.fromatod.org, and click on the contact page. You can also keep in touch with what we're doing in From A to D by following on Instagram at David From A to D. Tune in Monday for our next episode, and as always, stay safe and stay strong.